Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lysha from Lysha Be Creative, and in today's tutorial I'm doing yet another tumbler tutorial, but I'm also going to be doing a product review. So the product that I'm going to be reviewing today is Hippo Clear Waterslide. So you guys have seen me use Waterslide in my videos before, and so this is a Waterslide paper that I have not yet used before, and we're going to be using in today's tutorial to apply a full Waterslide wrap to a 32-ounce plump. So of course, with any product that I have on my channel, I will give you my honest opinions and thoughts of this product so that you can make that decision if this is a product for you. So of course, everything I use in today's tutorial will be listed and linked in the description box below, as well as brand new discount codes. So you want to make sure that you check that out. In that description box, you'll also find links to my social media and my Facebook group, Lysha Be Creative Community. So lastly, of course, if you haven't and if you love today's tutorial and product review, feel free to give this video a huge thumbs up as well as subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future videos. So let's go ahead and jump right into today's tutorial and review. Okay, so for this tutorial, we are starting with a 32-ounce plump from the Steel Magnolia. I have already prepped and sanded and cleaned off my cup, as well as spray painted my cup with 2 coats of Rustoleum 2x Ultra Matte White spray paint. So now what I've done is I've mixed up 30 ml of Alumilite's Fast Set Epoxy and put in a little bit of Diamond Magic from my Asia Creations. This is a glitter additive to your epoxy that you can use. It's an ultra fine glitter and it just gives the just amount of sparkle that you need. So because we are doing a full water slide wrap, I want to make sure that I have some sparkle on this cup because you know I can't have a cup that has no glitter. So adding just a little bit of this Diamond Magic to my epoxy is going to make my cup sparkle. So I'm applying 2 coats of epoxy and then we'll move into our next step. My tumbler has gotten 2 coats of epoxy on it, and so now I'm going to take my measuring tape. Guys, look at me, I'm moving up, I'm not just guessing anymore, and I'm going to measure the circumference around the middle of my cup. This is a straight cup, so I don't have to worry about a taper, so I'm going to measure the middle of the cup to get the circumference around the cup, and then I'm also going to measure the length of the cup, and this is so that I can determine how large I need my water slide to be. Okay, so now I'm going to go into Cricut Design Space and get my water slide ready. So I have downloaded 2 SVGs from Sassy Tumbler Graphics, and we have a discount code for her shop. It's Lysha40. That is in my description. She has some beautiful SVGs and PNGs for all the different seasons, so I encourage you to check out her shop. So I'm just uploading the fall brushstroke file that I had gotten from her shop into Cricut Design Space, saving it as a print then cut image, and now I'm going to do the same for the Love with Sunflower image. So I'm just clicking complex and then saving that as a print then cut image and then loading both of those into Cricut Design Space to work with them. So once I have my images into Cricut Design Space, they obviously are very large, so I'm just going to size both of them to a smaller size so that I can see my entire canvas and begin to work on the correct sizing I need for my cup. So my cup measurement was about 9.5 in width by about 10 inches in height. So I know that I don't want the brushstroke to go from top to bottom, meaning from edge to edge of the cup. So I want it to be just a little bit shorter than the cup so that I can apply the image and still do some extra design work on top of the image without having to worry about the water slide going over the rim of the cup. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to size the height to be about 9.5, and I actually have to make that a little bit smaller and change it to 9.25 just due to the constraints of Cricut Design Space. So because I'm using Cricut Design Space, I can't print this entire image, which is 9.5 by 9.25 in Cricut Design Space. It won't print that full sheet of water slide. Now I could have chosen to do this in a Google Doc, but just decided that I wanted to show you guys how you can achieve this in Cricut Design Space. So what I've done is I've inputted a square and made it a rectangle, and so I made that half of the circumference of my cup. So I know my cup is 9.5 around, so that is about 4.75 inches halfway through this image. So once I've done that, I put the rectangle on top of the cup, or on top of the image, and then I selected both images and clicked slice so that I was able to get both images cut in half. So now I have two pieces, and I'll be printing this full Waterslide wrap on two pieces of Waterslide. So I then have sized my Love Sunflower image to about 4 inches because I have a large cup that I'm using. And so now you're just seeing me play around with the sizing just due to the constraints of Cricut Design Space. I can't print any image that is longer than 9.25, so I'm trying to stay within that framework. So I printed my Waterslide on 2 sheets of the Hippo Clear Waterslide. Everything printed great, and the only change that I made to my inkjet printer was to change the quality from standard to high quality. So it printed out beautifully, no streaks, nothing crazy, and now I'm just going to seal this 2 times with 2 times Clear Gloss Rustoleum Clear Gloss Spray so that it's ready to be applied to my cup. Okay, so now it's time to apply the Waterslide. So this part can be tricky, but I promise if you take your time, you will nail it every time. So I have both of my images here, and what I'm doing first is I'm just cutting as close to my image as possible. Again, I'm not so worried about the ends, but I am making sure that the seam where the 2 pieces of Waterslide are going to meet is cut with no extra excess, if you will. So I've submerged my Waterslide into just lukewarm water. Again, you don't need a certain temperature. I have not found that one temperature over the other works better. And so while that is being submerged and beginning to soften so that it slides off the backing, I am going to apply a little bit of water to my tumbler to make the transfer of the Waterslide that much smoother. So I've left it in the water for about 30 seconds or so, and just until it was able to very easily move off of the backing. And now I'm going to apply the Waterslide to the cup. So this is probably the hardest part, especially when you're doing what I'm doing, which is using 2 images for the cup. So having to split your larger image in half because of the size of my cup. And it's getting that first initial piece of the Waterslide to stick without curling under. So what I find works the best is to definitely take your time, but to use a silicone brush, which you can actually purchase from the dollar store in the makeup section, and that really helps to squeegee out any bubbles and any water that may be under your Waterslide. And so this is a little bit sped up, but the whole process for me to apply the Waterslide took me about 25 to 30 minutes. And again, this is a full wrap, and I am trying to make sure that I have absolutely no bubbles and no water under my Waterslide. So take your time to squeegee out all of the water under your Waterslide, and making sure to keep your Waterslide as wet as possible for as long as possible until you get that backing completely off the back side of your Waterslide. So now we're going to move on and do the second half. So on a smaller cup, I would have been able to print a full sheet of Waterslide and applied it around like vinyl, but obviously with Waterslide. So we are going to do the exact same thing that I did with the first section to the second section. I'm just using a paper towel to just very carefully dry off any of that excess water so I can apply the second sheet of Waterslide. So now that I've cut all of the extra Waterslide from around my image off, I'm just applying some more water to the blank slate of my tumbler while my second piece of Waterslide is submerged in water. Again, just waiting for the Waterslide to become pliable and to very easily move off of that backing without any effort. So now that that is done, now I'm just going to try to line up my 2 seams of the cup. I apologize that my head is legitimately in the way here, but I'm just measuring and lining up, I should say, my 2 sections. I felt like I had to be super close to it just to make sure that I was getting as close to a seamless look as I could. There was just a little bit of a piece of my Waterslide that did buckle under, but it's not something that is super apparent. It was just something that I could see, and of course I'm trying to fix that. So I'm doing the exact same thing, using my squeegee tool to push out any of the extra water and very gently pulling off the backing from the Waterslide slowly small sections at a time is going to be the best thing here to just make sure that you're not going too fast for yourself, and that way if you do have to stop and kind of start over, you have that backing to help you with that support. So just pulling that backing slowly off until I have it completely off and it meets on the other side. So now I'm just going to take my squeegee and squeeze out any of the extra water, going around again to make sure I didn't miss any air bubbles and making sure that the water slide is lined up perfectly. And then I'll just take a paper towel to again dry off any of the extra water, and then I'm going to set this aside to dry for a full 24 hours before I put any more coats of epoxy on this. So once I get this back on the turner, I am going to apply one more coat of epoxy, about 30 mLs, to this cup before we go in with our final design pieces to really bring this cup together. Now that my next coat of epoxy is dry, I'm going to now begin the design work. So I know that I want to add a little bit extra design to this cup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some blue painter's tape to tape off the top portion and the bottom portion. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to spray paint the very top of the tumbler and the very bottom of the tumbler with that white flat spray paint, so that I can begin some interesting design work to kind of just make this more than just a water slide cup. So you guys know that I can't just have, water slide on a cup or just glitter on a cup. Like, there has to be a design too. So I'm going to go ahead and tape off the top and bottom sections here, and then I will use some plastic wrap around the center to protect the middle from getting any spray paint mist on the cup before I go outside to spray paint my cup. So I did want to take this time and opportunity to tell you guys a little bit about what I thought about the Hippo water slide. So I really did enjoy using this product. It's the first time that I have used Hippo water slide. Now, of course, I have used plenty of different water slide in the past, and a lot of different brands, but what I loved about this water slide was how simple and easy it was to use to print. I got great quality out of the paper, and I didn't have any issues with cracking or ripping or anything when it came to applying this water slide to a cup. So for me, for someone who uses water slide, I am someone who knows that sometimes mistakes can happen, and because of that, what I like to do is always print 2 of the water slide I'm going to be working with in the event that I mess up and have to start over. So with this water slide, I printed 2 just to be safe, but I only had to use those 2 pieces of water slide, and that was it. So I love that it was just so easy and that I was able to get it right the first time without any cracking, any ripping, or anything crazy happening with the water slide. So now that I have all of this on the cup, I'm now just going to take my flat white spray paint and my cup outside to spray paint, and then we'll be right back to design. So after my spray paint was dry, I've gone ahead and taken off the plastic wrap and tape around the edges, and now I'm going to distress the edges of this paint. So I'm using a combination of pure acetone and rubbing alcohol, and what I'm doing is I'm going to distress the edges to kind of look like the original image, if you will, but slightly different in the sense of I know I'm going to be adding some copper foil flakes to this as well. So I wanted to just be able to distress this a little bit so that when I added the copper foil flakes, that it just gave it a little bit more texture. I didn't want a straight line around the bottom because I didn't want it to appear that there was a crisp line there. I still wanted it to get that brush stroke look. So when you're using pure acetone, that is going to remove your paint completely, and then rubbing alcohol is going to clean up the edges, so to speak, or clean up any of the cloudiness and smudging that the paint will make. So I'm really taking my time here and going in with just kind of that distressed look, just kind of rubbing up and down along that paint line all the way around the cup to kind of just get the look that I'm looking for. I don't have kind of a, size as far as how far down I want to go. I want to keep it kind of even, but some of the sections are taller from where the paint is removed, and then others obviously are a little bit shorter, and that gives it more of a you know, not perfect look, which is obviously not what I'm going for. I don't want it to look like it's perfectly distressed. I want it to look a little bit rustic here as well. So once I'm done with the bottom section, I'll then switch to the top section and do the exact same thing. So again, just going along that paint line and just, you know, rubbing those sections a little bit at a time to rub off some of that paint and just create that distressed look that I'm going for. So again, that acetone is really what's going to remove your paint, and then your rubbing alcohol, you're going to go in to clean up those sections and remove any of the cloudiness the paint has left behind. So now I'm going to add the copper foil flakes to the top and bottom edges of the cup to give it some extra design. So I'm just using Tack It over and over in a cup, and I'm just using a fine paintbrush to apply the Tack It to my cup in small sections along that bottom edge of white spray paint. So I'm only applying it in kind of varying sections. I don't really have a plan other than I want to make sure that the white spray paint under it is also going to show. So I'm going to be putting the copper foil flakes along the bottom, but I still want some of that spray paint to also be present. So I'm just going to apply my copper foil flakes like you guys have seen me do in past tutorials. So feel free to check out past tutorials. I'm not going to go too in depth with this just because you guys have seen me apply and use these before. Not my first time using these, and I am all for using these because they really are beautiful, and I've had them for so long and I can't believe it's taken me this long to figure out what to do with them. So now I'm just taking small sections of the foil flakes and just applying them to the cup. And once I have applied them to the cup in all of the sections and I have all of the tackiness from the Tack It covered, I'll then just go in with that dry paintbrush and brush off all of the pieces of foil that aren't actually stuck to the Tack It, that are just stuck to the cup. So I will use a dry soft paintbrush to brush off all of the extra foil flake off the cup, and then I'll do the exact same with the top. So if you have a question as to how to apply these foil flakes, I do encourage you to check out my previous tutorials, as I really do go into depth on how to apply this and you know, that kind of a thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up, and then let's go ahead and apply the decal to this cup. Okay, so while I printed my water slide, I also printed my image. So this is again that Sassy Tumbler Graphics image that I got, and I printed it on printable vinyl. So with printable vinyl, you guys do have to remember that it is definitely not as forgiving as regular vinyl. So I haven't done anything with my cup. All I have done is finished applying the foil flakes, and now I'm just going to apply my decal. So again, as I was saying with printable vinyl, when you are applying it, make sure wherever you're going to stick it, that is where it's going to stay. Printable vinyl does not like to be removed and reapplied. It tends to rip, get scratched, look all sorts of crazy, and then you kind of just have to start over. So definitely just my word of advice when it comes to using printable vinyl. So I'm going to apply this beautiful Love Sunflower image to my cup, and then I'm going to put this cup back on the turner and apply CC DIY's Quick Coat. So that is the water-based urethane sealer that is just going to help my foil flakes to stay down, as well as my printable vinyl, to make sure I don't have any issues with the final coats of epoxy on my cup. And now for the final look. This cup, of course, took 2 final coats of epoxy to seal, and I absolutely love how this came out. It definitely is a different look for fall, but I absolutely love it, and I love Hippo brand water slide. It really was simple and easy to use, and something I definitely will be using in the future. I hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, feel free to give this video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys again next week.